Chapter 21. Echoes of Blood Bloemfontein. Present. The blood on Stefan's body had barely dried before the whispers began. At the construction site, men worked quieter than usual, their eyes darting toward Marnus as if he carried death on his shoulders. At the grocery, people stepped aside in the aisles, conversations hushed the moment he passed. In Bloemfontein's taverns his name was spoken in low voices, Marnus the Cursed, the lion who kills. And now the police were asking questions. Detectives had come to his flat, their tone sharp, circling like hyenas around a wounded prey. Where were you on the night Stefan died? Did you have disputes with him? Strange how violence always seems to follow you, Mr. Clinsmith. Marnus's hands shook as he poured coffee. He knew the beasts left no evidence, no scratches visible to human eyes. Yet somehow he was always the one left standing among the ashes. Doubt. That night alone, he sat with his head in his hands. Am I truly cursed? He whispered. Or chosen? Or just a monster wearing human skin? The lion within stirred but offered no answer, only a growl that rattled through his chest. The spirit children. In the dream realm, Destin sat with Lee, staring at the cracks of heaven's floor where flickers of possible futures burned like lightning. Papa doesn't believe we're real, Destin muttered. Lee frowned, tugging at his shirt. But we are, aren't we? I can feel you. Franz, older and more solemn, crossed his arms. He sees us as dreams because that's easier. If he knew what we really were, it would break him. Destin's eyes blazed. Then maybe we should tell him. But Franz shook his head. No, the truth is too heavy, even for him. Kirsten's circle, far away, Kirsten sat among friends. Their voices were sharp knives dressed as concern. That man brings only ruin, Kirsten. Haven't you seen? Death follows him. Her jaw trembled. You don't understand. He fights what no one else can see. They laughed bitterly. Demons? Beasts? It sounds like madness, and you're dragging your children into it. Kirsten's hands tightened around her coffee mug until her knuckles whitened. She wanted to scream, to confess, to call Marnus right there and tell him she believed him against the world. But her heart split in two, half loyalty, half terror. And Michaela, standing nearby, overheard every word. Her fists clenched at her sides. If they only knew. Theo's shadow. Theo followed her that night. His tiger eyes gleamed from the dark rooftops as she walked home. Such loyalty, he whispered to himself, a cruel grin on his face. But loyalty cracks under pressure. He licked his lips, pacing. Soon. Not yet. First the lion must bleed more. First the lion must doubt. And into the night he laughed softly. Tick-tock, lion. Tick-tock. The angels watched back in the unseen realm. The angels gathered above Marnus's bed. Michael wanted to strike. His sword flamed in his grip. Let me kill the tiger now before he poisons her heart. But Gabriel held him back. Not yet. The Father has measured the days. Each beast is a trial, each wound a carving of destiny. Marcus spun in circles, muttering, but he's breaking. Breaking, breaking, breaking. What if he doesn't get back up? Gabriel's eyes were sorrowful. Then the world itself will fracture, and so they waited. Marnus's night. Marnus lay awake, his body throbbing from wounds not fully healed, his soul heavier still. He thought of Kirsten's voice, the children's laughter, the angels' cryptic words. He thought of Stefan's lifeless body. And in the silence, he prayed, God, if you see me, if you chose me, then why do I feel so abandoned? No answer came, only the sound of his heartbeat, heavy and tired, counting down towards something he could not yet name. Chapter 22. Graves and Shadows, Bloemfontein, present. The tiger came without warning. Theo's roar split the night like thunder. One moment Marnus was walking home with sore muscles, the next he was rolling across gravel as claws slashed inches from his throat. Sparks flew where beast metal met concrete. You thought Stefan's blood was the end? Theo growled, pacing. I'm 6 times stronger now, 6 times faster, 6 times more patient. Marnus pushed to his feet, blood already dripping down his arm. Then why haven't you killed me yet? Theo's smile widened. Because I want you to run. I want you to see. He turned and leapt into the Veldbite, stripes vanishing into tall grass. Marnus felt the lion within surge, forcing his body into pursuit. He followed, breath ragged, until the chase led him down a road he knew too well, straight into Wright's. The grave. The moon lit the small cemetery where his father rested, and there, on the stone that bore the name Peter Rudolph Daniel Clinsmith, Theo waited. His eyes gleamed with cruel delight. "Do you see it, Lion?" Theo's voice was a whip. "You are worse than him. You've spilled blood like water. You've lost your children. You've lost your women, just like him." Marnus's throat tightened. "You know nothing about him." Theo crouched on the grave, claws brushing across the stone. "Your father must be so disappointed. You've walked his path. Cigarettes, failure, anger, ruin. He lives through you." "Stop," Marnus whispered, but his chest burned. Hash the farm. Theo leapt again, leading him down the gravel road toward the family farm, the one that once stood between Petrus Stane and Wright's. When Marnus arrived, he froze. The fields were not empty. They shimmered with memory. He saw himself as a boy, racing Anel across the dirt yard, their laughter echoing. His brother Peter's shadow at the barn door, his father on the tractor, sweat-stained shirt, lighting a cigarette, looking strong, immortal. His mother Anzi, waving from the kitchen stoop. Her voice calling him in for supper, her eyes fierce, protective, hiding him from something he still could not recall. But then the images began to crumble. He saw 1996, when the land was lost, when the laughter ended, when the house stood empty and the farm was gone. He fell to his knees. Papa. But Theo was gone. Only dust remained. Phone calls and memory. Marnus pulled out his phone with shaking hands. He called his mother Anzi. "Ma?" His voice broke. "I love you." There was a pause on the line. "Marnus, what's wrong?" "Nothing. Everything. Just I love you." Tears stung his eyes. He thought of Anel, how they once shared secrets, how they played under the sun, how now they barely spoke. He thought of Pieter, his brother, their relationship a brittle shell of tolerance, and above it all the memory of his father's cigarette glow in the twilight, how he had admired him, how he still did. The present again by dawn. He returned to Bloemfontein, exhausted, hollow. He spent one precious hour with Tabitha, his daughter, holding her small hand as if it could anchor him to life itself. Afterward he picked up Madri, his other daughter, and took her for a milkshake. He forced a smile, listened to her stories, laughed when he could, but the ghost of his father's farm clung to him, heavy as stone. Theo's doubt. On a nearby rooftop, Theo watched. The tiger's breathing was sharp, uneven. His claws tapped against the concrete. "Why don't you finish him?" The voice belonged to Malik, leader of the Muslim Brotherhood of Beasts. He appeared beside Theo, dark eyes burning like coal. Theo's jaw twitched. I study him first. I want to know his weakness." Malik sneered. "You fear him." Theo's tail lashed. "I don't fear the lion, but there's something else, a pull, as if killing him isn't the end, but the beginning of something worse." Malik's smile was thin. "Then don't hesitate too long. Tick-tock, tiger, tick-tock." Heavenly mischief. Meanwhile, in Kirsten's home, Marcus had eaten far too much sugar. He darted around the kitchen like a child, laughing at his own jokes. "Marcus!" Kirsten scolded as he tipped over a bucket by accident. Fire ants scattered, and Marcus yelped, hopping around. "Ow! Ow! They're biting!" "Behave!" Gabriel thundered. Marcus pouted, kicking the bucket away. "Fine, but I'll really kick the bucket one day when I'm angry." Kirsten shook her head, half exasperated, half amused. "You angels are worse than children. Forgiveness." That same week, Carol, the woman Marnus had once loved and lost, sent him a message. "I forgive you." He read it a dozen times, the words searing. Forgiveness where he least deserved it. The shadow work. In the heavenly realm, Destin sat cross-legged as Gabriel spoke. "Each beast your father fights is more than claws and teeth. They are his shadows, his regrets, his failures." Destin frowned. "Then why does it hurt so much?" Gabriel's eyes glowed with sorrow. "Because shadow work is the hardest war. It's the war against yourself." And far below, Marnus lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, still hearing Theo's voice whispering from his father's grave, "You are worse than him. You are worse." Chapter 23. Through Their Eyes. The smell of vanilla milkshake lingered in the air as Madri twirled the straw between her fingers. Her eyes were bright, but her voice wavered. "Papa?" she said softly. "Why do people always talk bad about you?" Marnus froze. The words were knives, too sharp for a child her age to carry. He forced a smile, leaned forward and tapped her nose. "Some people don't understand lions, Madri, but you do, don't you?" She smiled back, but her heart felt heavy. Madri's world. Later that night, Madri overheard her mother speaking sharply on the phone. She had slipped out of bed to fetch water, only to hear the familiar arguments floating down the hallway. Marnus is no good. He'll never change. He destroys everything he touches, her mother spat. Marjorie clenched her fists. No, that's not true. She wanted to scream it, to fight for her father. But instead, she ran back to her room, tears spilling. She crawled under her blanket and whispered into the darkness, I believe in you, Papa, even if nobody else does. Tabitha's quiet pain. Across town, Tabitha sat at the kitchen table while her mother entertained a friend. He's irresponsible, her mother said bitterly, unaware of the little ears nearby. Tabitha's better off without him. Tabitha pressed her face into her sleeve, hiding her tears. She loved her father fiercely. Even their single hour together each week was treasure, an hour of laughter, of him showing her silly dance moves, of him listening to her stories as if they were golden. Now, hearing her mother's words, Tabitha's chest ached. She wanted to shout, He's my papa! Don't you dare take him away from me. But she stayed silent, swallowing the pain. Lee and Destin. Meanwhile, Destin sat on the floor, clutching his toy cars, frustration in his little hands. He turned to Lee, voice cracking. Why does Papa always get hurt? Why can't they just leave him alone? Lee put his tiny arms around his brother, trying to be strong. But in his innocence, he slipped. Maybe it's because of Letitia and Mianet. Destin blinked. Who's that? Lee's eyes widened. He bit his lip, realizing he had spoken a truth not yet meant to be told. He hugged Destin tighter, whispering, Forget I said it. Just forget. But Destin didn't forget. The name burned in his chest like a mystery waiting to explode. Michaela's watching eyes. In another home, Michaela sat quietly, listening to Kirsten talking with her friends. They spoke of Marnus, some with pity, some with disapproval. Still the same broken man, one said. Kirsten's voice cracked as she defended him. You don't know him like I do. He carries battles you'll never see. He's more than his mistakes. He's my lion. Michaela's heart squeezed. She still loves him. A part of her wanted to protect her mother from the pain, but another part ached with her own secret knowledge. Her father's blood ran through her veins. Children of conflict. The children saw pieces of their father's war, some through harsh words, others through whispered truths, and others through memories. Destin lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, confused about what was real. Tabitha clung to the memory of her hour with her father, replaying it over and over like a lifeline. Marjorie dreamed of lions and milkshakes, her heart a battlefield between hope and fear. Michaela sat alone in the dark, whispering her father's name, wondering if one day the truth would set them free. Meanwhile, Theo's doubt deepens. On a distant rooftop, Theo crouched, watching the stars. The tiger's breath was uneven. Malik's words echoed in his mind. Why don't you finish him? Theo growled softly. Because I need to understand him first. And for the first time, he wasn't sure if killing the lion was his destiny or his greatest mistake. End of chapter.